For most of military history, the ultimate symbol of defensive power was the fortress, and by May 1940 the Belgian fortress of Eben-Emael was considered among the strongest on Earth. It was a monument to the static, attritional warfare of the past war. Its capture was deemed impossible, requiring a massive infantry assault and a prolonged siege predicted to cost tens of thousands of lives, but it fell in a single day, to a force of just 85 men. The common summary is straightforward. German paratroopers used a secret weapon, shaped charges, to blind and cripple the fort. But that summary misses the profound and uncomfortable reality. The raid's success was not a fluke of new technology. It was the endpoint of a meticulously planned psychological operation, one that targeted not just concrete and steel, but the human mind inside the fortress. The Germans didn't just assault a strongpoint, they weaponized uncertainty, and in doing so, they exposed a fatal flaw in any defensive system: the propensity of those inside to become prisoners of their own perceived security. Captain Walter Koch raid on Eben-Emael. The real objective was paralysis, not destruction. The plan assigned to Captain Walter Koch and his small assault group, Sturmabteilung Koch, was not to level Eben-Emael with demolition. Their task was surgical incapacitation. The fortress's true threat lay in its artillery, which commanded the bridges over the Albert Canal, critical invasion routes. Koch's men, landing in 10 gliders on the fortress roof, a surface never designed for defense, had one imperative: neutralize the gun casemates and cupolas in the opening minutes. The revolutionary-shaped charges were simply the tool for this. Their psychological effect, however, was exponential. Inside the fort, the defenders were prepared for an attack from the outside world. The sudden, silent appearance of enemy engineers on their roof, followed by the peculiar, localized thunder of hollow charges blasting through steel and concrete, created a catastrophic failure in their situational awareness. They were not being shelled from a distance. The enemy was in the building, methodically sealing off rooms. This induced a form of tactical claustrophobia. Walter Koch's command challenge was managing isolation. While the glider pilots and assault engineers on the roof executed their tasks with brutal efficiency, Captain Koch's role was one of profound isolation. His command post was not in a secure rear area, it was in the chaos of the landing zone, under increasing Belgian small arms and mortar fire from the fortress's non-captured sectors. His radios, notoriously fragile, failed. For critical hours, Koch and his men were cut off, holding key objectives like the critical bridge at Vroonhoven with a handful of troops. His responsibilities shifted from complex assault coordination to a stark survival command: hold, consolidate, and endure with what you have. He had to assume his scattered units were executing their missions while making decisions based solely on the immediate, desperate fight around him. This was not headquarters generalship, it was leadership under absolute uncertainty, where the decision to dig in and ration ammunition mattered more than any grand tactic. The garrison of Eben-Emael was brave and well-equipped. Their failure stemmed from a conceptual trap. Their entire doctrine, training, and fortress design was predicated on a 1918 model of warfare. They had planned for every conventional contingency. But they had no mental or procedural framework for an enemy landing directly on top of them, severing their observational capabilities at the outset. When their world became a closed system of darkened tunnels echoing explosions from above and severed communications, initiative dissolved. They waited for orders that could not come, and for a counterattack that was never effectively organized. Their greatest vulnerability was not the thickness of their walls, but the rigidity of their operational mindset. In survivalist terms, they were perfectly prepared for the last threat. Their shelters became tombs because they could not adapt their mental model to a new reality. The fall of Eben-Emael did more than open the road into Belgium. It delivered a shockwave through global military thought. It validated the concept of the strategic coup de main, a lightning strike at a single critical node to collapse an entire system. It signaled the absolute end of the Maginot Line mentality. Post-war, this philosophy evolved into doctrines targeting command and control, communication hubs, and air defense sites in opening moves of any conflict. Think of the Israeli raids on Arab airfields in 1967, or the US use of stealth and precision-guided munitions in the Gulf War. The lesson was clear. Technological superiority, focused on creating systemic shock, could paralyze a larger, conventionally superior force. For the survivalist, the mirror lesson is just as critical. Any system, no matter how robust, is vulnerable to a novel attack vector that its designers failed to conceive. Redundancy, decentralized command, and mental adaptability are the only true counters. The story of Walter Koch and the 85 men who took Eben-Emael is not a simple tale of daring. It is a case study in how innovation, when aimed at an opponent's psychological and doctrinal weaknesses, can achieve the impossible. It reminds us that in conflict, and in preparedness, the most dangerous assumption is that the next threat will resemble the last. The fortress was a masterpiece of engineering, but it was defeated by a masterpiece of imagination. Remembering this matters, not to glorify the attack, but to understand the anatomy of a paradigm shift. It forces us to ask, where are our own Eben-Emaels? What seemingly impervious systems do we rely on, and what unconsidered vector could render them obsolete overnight? If you value these deep dives into the historical realities that shape our understanding of conflict, survival, and human decision-making, consider subscribing to War Machiner. Share this video with others who prefer substance over summary. Thanks for watching. Soil Doctor.